we can look up as we straighten out the leg and point the toes, and then we can look down as we relax the foot and knee. So we're looking up, looking down, looking up, looking down. And while we were resting, let's continue with our nerve gliding exercise demonstration. And right now, I'm going to be showing you guys how we can release tension on the sciatic nerve. And this is going to be a slightly more advanced version of the exercise that I just showed you. With regard to a few days ago, if you recall, I showed you guys how to perform the sciatic nerve tension test. And this is going to be that test turned into an exercise to help release tension on the sciatic nerve. What we want to do is get into a seated position. And from here, step number one is we want to go ahead and tuck our chin to our chest. So we're going to do full cervical flexion for 3 to 5 repetitions. And we want to check in with ourselves and ask ourselves, have my symptoms gotten better, worse, or stayed the same? If you have noticed that your symptoms have either gotten worse or stayed the same, we would stop the exercise immediately. There is no need to continue with the exercise. We don't want to exacerbate your symptoms. However, if you have noticed an immediate improvement of your symptoms, go ahead and do 20 additional repetitions of full cervical flexion. Let's say you've done the cervical flexion and you've noticed no reproduction of your symptoms. We could build tension on the nerve by going into full knee extension for 3 to 5 repetitions and then ask ourselves, have my symptoms either gotten better, worse, or have they stayed the same? Again, if your symptoms have either gotten worse or stayed the same, we would stop the exercise immediately. There is no need to continue with the exercise. We don't want to exacerbate your symptoms. However, if your symptoms have immediately improved, we're going to maintain that full cervical flexion and do 20 additional repetitions of full knee extension on the affected limb. Let's say you've done the cervical flexion, you've done the knee extension, and you still haven't noticed a reproduction of your symptoms. We can build tension on the nerve by adding a component of dorsiflexion for 3 to 5 repetitions. And what we would do is once again check in with ourselves and ask ourselves, have my symptoms either gotten better, worse, or stayed the same? If you have noticed that your symptoms have gotten worse or stayed the same, we would immediately stop the exercise. There is no need to continue. However, if you have noticed that you have had an immediate improvement in your symptoms, we would go ahead, keep that chin tucked in, knee in fully extension, and perform 20 additional repetitions of the dorsiflexion. That's if we want to work proximal to distal. What we could also do is we could do a little bit more of a gliding technique by alternating between the dorsiflexion and the cervical flexion. So what we could do in this case is we could go ahead, we want to get that knee into extension, and then as we end up bringing our toes into dorsiflexion, we're simultaneously going to look up to the sky. So we could go ahead, plantar flexion, cervical flexion, dorsiflexion, cervical extension. So look forward, point forward, look up, point up. We could also do the same thing and we could add it with the knee extension. So as we straighten the leg, we look up and then look down as we bring the leg down. So we're looking up and then alternating with the knee. And then finally, we could also combine all of those movements together. So we can look up as we straighten out the leg and point the toes, and then we could look down as we relax the foot and knee. So we're looking up, looking down, looking up, looking down. Those are a few different options to help release tension on the sciatic nerve. So if you were scored a positive test on any of the either straight leg raise test, the sciatic nerve test, or any of the tests like Slump test that test for tension in the sciatic nerve, we would perform this exercise. If you have any type of pain along the posterior thigh, the calf, the foot, or any type of tingling along the sciatic path, this exercise would be absolutely great if you don't experience a reproduction of or if you don't experience an exacerbation of your symptoms. But if you notice an immediate improvement, I guarantee you, if you do 20 repetitions of that, your symptoms are going to drastically improve. During the next rest period, I'm going to be showing you one more seated position for the sciatic nerve, releasing tension in that area. And this one is going to place a little bit more tension on the sciatic nerve. So if those last two exercises, you didn't really notice anything, this next one, if you do happen to have sciatica, you're definitely going to notice something. But for right now, our rest period is up. It is time for set number 4. That was just a tiny taste of what can be found in my members only section. If you enjoyed it, become a member for only $5 a month to get access to hundreds of member only videos.